Alright, day 7 of 365. We have 4 more boards to look at here, still doing the under bluff or over bluff spot. We have these 2 boards on the medium draw potential without high card category, and we also have these 2 pair boards to look at. So we'll jump right into 762 Rainbow, which is a 66 mix, is the strategy we're going to be using here. Seven, 6, 2 Rainbow. So in position betting this flop about half the time, using that 66% sizing when we do bets. So any pair over a 7 is betting pretty often, with the exception of kings and aces are the only hands that are less than 50% frequency. So it's a lot of just top pair over pairs. For bluffs, we have the 10-9, a lot of 9x being used as a bluff here, which I guess is just a good card to have if we want to bluff. Same with the 8x. But most of these combos doing a good amount of checking as well. Then we see 10x doing a lot of betting. Jack 10 suited, Queen 10 suited, King 10 suited. These are probably going to all be combos that have a backdoor draw as well. Although no, the heart combo is still betting at a very high frequency with these King Jacks. So it's like the non-ace high broadways are doing a good amount of betting here, especially with backdoor flush draw. The offsuit combos betting a decent amount as well. King Jack, Queen Jack, Queen 10, Jack 10. I think it's just because we have so much fold equity when we bet that this large on a board like this. So anyway, let's say we bet, not expecting a ton of check raising from big blind versus a bet of this size. Probably just sets 2 pairs, open ender draws, gut shots with a backdoor flush draw low frequency. So yeah, only 10% raising, and we see ace 5 with a backdoor flush draw, 9-5 is a gutter, 8-5 open-ended, 4-5 open-ended, 5-3 gutter, and then 2 pairs and sets are the raises for big blind, but we'll go bet call. And we'll also look how turn strategy changes versus a check flop and then a bet call flop. So call, and let's put a queen of hearts out here, and we'll look at a position strategy. So a lot of betting, but mixing pretty consistently between all 3 sizings. I'll never really come to the turn with a game plan of having 3 sizes in my range, so I'd probably just split between 2/3 and overbet here. I don't think I'd ever bet a third in this spot. Like the combos that want to bet this small, I'd probably just end up checking with, like these pairs, these lower pairs under a queen. And then if I'm gonna do anything with these bluffs, I'll just bet. I'll either overbet or bet 2/3. So let's look at this strategy across all turns. So when we bet, a lot of polarizing down here. Interesting how on the Rainbow 3, it's a pure overbet when we are betting. And just insanely high frequency with all these cards. So when we're mixing on a board like this, when we bet 2/3 and get called, we're just barreling a lot on these Broadway turns, which are going to be high equity cards for in position. Yep, ace actually only 46. And we'll take a look on if we think this is going to be overbluffed. I want to look at this 3 of hearts quick just to see why there's so much polarizing going on this this card. Especially when big blind can have 4 or 5 and it's like 2 pairs and stuff here. So our bluffs, we're going huge even with 8s. Ace 7, King 7 is like our value cutoff for an overbet here. 7-6 is 2 pair, 5-4 is the nuts. Interesting that aces wants to check sometimes. Is this hand getting raised if we... So if we check aces here, in the river, we'll just say it's like a brick. And villain bets river. Okay, so we raise with aces now. Okay. We'll go back to the turn on whether we think this is overbluffed or underbluffed. So a lot of our bluffs here are 9x, 10x. This is rainbow. This is definitely going to be underbluffed in practice. No way people are even coming close to hitting these frequencies with these kind of Broadway hands here. Let's see if that stays consistent across. We'll look at a Broadway turn. Let's look at like a jack of clubs. So in position here should be barreling. Like all this Broadway stuff is just betting. Like everything is betting here. Basically all the offsuit stuff. So this is definitely in practice going to be an underbluff situation. Let's look at in position strategy on check check. And we'll put a Broadway turn. So mostly checking here from big blind. But there is some betting going on. Using two sizings, 1/3 and an overbet. Value overbets being sets. Here, any jack X. Not really much betting with jack X. So like the value part of the leading range, overbet leading range, is very strong, and then it's like high equity draws. Open ender, open ender, open ender. Gutter. Gutter, but yeah. So we'll say check, and now in position when we are betting. What are our bluffs on this card? We're going big with kings, queens, jacks. Tens, continue checking. Ace jack, bet 75. King 8. So I'm gonna, I just think even like in practice, I don't think this king 8 frequency is getting met. Queen 8, and these hands aren't getting bet often, but I think in practice people aren't even going to be hitting these as often. Like the king queen off, people aren't going to be hitting that frequency. So this is, we'll just go ahead and say underbluffed spot for sure, which I think is the green. Yeah. So in general, this is going to be an underbluff spot, no doubt. Now we'll look at 10-8 deuce, rainbow. So our strategy for this is range bet, mix 33. Okay, so it's just going to be range bets mixing between 33 and 66. So let's take a look in PIO. Alright, so yep, we can see that this PIO is range betting, or when we are range betting, it's mixing between 36 and 18 pretty evenly here. And if we look at the EV differential, there's no one combo that really heavily favors one option over the other, except pocket deuces here favors a big bet. Unblocking all of big blind's calling range while having a set. So basically no real EV difference between 1/3 or 2/3 bet here. We'll look at how the big blind strategy changes versus each of these bets. So versus a third pot bet, big blind's playing a 22% check raise. And ace 4 with a backdoor, ace 3 with a backdoor. The value, oh, ace 9. So this is like, yeah, these are those combos that have the backdoor straight draw and flush draw potential with an overcard. So Jack 9's open-ended, but like Queen 9, King 9, Ace 9, all kind of the same concept where it's a backdoor flush draw, backdoor straight draw with an overcard to the 10. And these hands get raised a good amount. First a 1/3 bet, 10-8 is 2 pair, sets, 2s, 8s, 10s raising, Queen Jack gutter raising, these top pairs raising. Okay. And then here these like lower 2x as well. Ace 10, and we'll see how this changes. So 22% versus a 1/3 bet versus a 2/3 bet, only 11%. So these combos actually still raising. Ace 5 or ace 4, ace 3 never raising now. These 2s never raising. Sets still raising. 10s slow playing a lot more. Queen Jack still in there. Gutter. Jack 9 still in there. So a lot less raising versus size. Also curious to see how betting big how it changes turn strategy here for imposition. So we'll look at 2/3 pot bet first and a call. Let's put 5 of spades out and look at strategy. Okay, so basically polarizing or checking on this card. No straights get here, so that makes sense. In terms of this being an overbluffed or underbluffed spot, we're betting 42% of the time. So it's in position. Are people meeting these frequencies? With King Jack, with spades, obviously, yeah. So I'm sure most flush draws are going to be barreling here. Basically every flush draw. These flush draws with a pair, not betting as much. But like all these flush draws are betting at 100% frequency, basically. All the ones that don't have a pair, at least. I go for an overbet. Which seems reasonable. These offsuit combos, like all these bluffs with ace jack, king jack, queen jack, king queen, I doubt people are hitting these frequencies often enough, because these just make up so many combos. Like king 10 here through king queen, like these ace jack, ace 10, queen jack. This makes up so many combos here, and I don't think people are overbetting with these nearly as often as PIO is in this spot. And now let's look at strategy across all turns and see if this much betting is, yeah, so there's just so much betting going on. Like this can't all be value on a king, on an ace. So I can just already tell right off the bat this is going to be a big time under bluff spot, and we don't even really have to look at the other cards too much. And here one thing that's important is if we are going to bluff with like ace 10, ace jack here, I was going to say it's always better to have a spade, because we can see here ace jack with this ace of spades is 100% frequency bluff here, but ace 10 with ace of spades is a lower frequency than ace 10 without the ace of spades. So that makes no sense to me, but generally I would prefer to have a spade if I'm going to make a bluff like this, especially the ace of spades is a good one to be sure big blind doesn't have, because that's going to be a big part of big blind's continuing ranges flushes on this turn. So it's always better to block those when going for bluffs. But yes, this is going to be under bluffed as well, no question. Let's look at a king, and I also want to see how these strategies change. So this is strategy versus a 2/3 pot bet, polarizing on these lower cards, and betting often but small on these Broadway turns. So yeah, 75%. All the king X that we have just betting. And this makes sense why the frequency is so high. Now, like all of these aces bluffing. Even ace queen, ace jack, ace queen, ace jack. Like this card gives us so much equity because we have so many gutters now with our Broadway cards on this turn. We have so many top pairs now, so we're basically just betting with everything. We're only checking 22%, and our checking range is, you know, pairs under the 10 basically, and like some 10x as well. So it's like 10x and worse, we check queen 10, jack 10, 9s, 7s. And even these 3s and 4s, just because we're betting so much with the range in general, these we're bluffing with now as well. So this is going to be just a massively under bluff spot. So let's look one more time at this whole strategy across all turns, and then we'll look at this same graphic versus a 1/3 pot bet on the flop and see if anything changes. So 50% betting, only polarizing these lower cards. A ton of betting, mostly 75% on these Broadway cards. Not much going on with these cards. And let's see if that stays consistent versus a 1/3 bet on the flop. Yep, so on this card it seems pretty consistent. We're still betting incredibly often. On a king turn for 75%, and we'll see if we're still polarizing on the low cards. Yep. So strategy is basically played the same. Actually, more betting with it on a 9 and 10 turn when we go small on the flop, which is interesting. But yeah, it basically plays very similar, and this is without a doubt going to be an underbluffed spot in practice for the majority of players. And we'll go here to pair board, so we'll look at these two and then wrap up. So 10, 10, 4, 33 range bets, file load tree. Alright, 10, 10, 4. Yep, so we're betting range for 1/3 here. Check raising from big blind is going to be any 10x, some 4x, some flush draws, backdoor flush draw, backdoor straight draw hands. Pairs in between 4 and 10 with that have a spade are going to want to raise. So let's take a look. Actually, 9s preferring not to have a spade to raise. Same with 8s. Okay, interesting. But yeah, a lot of these hands are raising at some frequency. 3s, 2s raising. All 10x, I'm sure. Yep, all these 10s raising. All these 10s raising. Ace 3 with a flush draw or backdoor flush draw, backdoor straight draw in there. Same with Ace 2. And then I'm sure, yeah, like a 33% raise is insane. And that's just like all these pairs wanting to raise. Even these like low frequency 4x raises. And these, all the flush draw bluff raises, like any flush draw is raising here at a decent frequency. It's going to make a lot of combos. Then these offsuit, okay, these are 10s. Like these offsuit broadways with a big spade, like king of spades, queen of spades. These combos doing a lot of raising, just folding without a spade here from big blinds. Ace jack raising. Okay, yeah, queen jack. So these are going to be like big blind. People are not raising these combos nearly often enough, I'm sure. Because like 30, this is a crazy high frequency. So we'll say just a call from big blinds. It's easy to miss these combos, but these make up such a large percent of the check raise range in total, like that 33%, that it's important to make sure in practice we're hitting these bluffs. Because people that aren't studying PIO very often are not going to play optimally against this raise strategy. So bet call, let's look at a king of diamonds turn. So on the second flush draw in position is doing a lot of betting. What? What is that? My computer charger? Can you hand it to me, please? Oh my god. Fuck. This could be bad. Hand me That right there. She chewed this up so much, I just hope it still goes in there. Boba, no! You do not chew this. Okay, should be fine. Can you plug this into the outlet right there and see if it works? Did a light turn on that thing right there, that little box? There's a light on? Okay, good. Can you hand me the laptop and charger now, and I'm going to put it in a spot where Boba can't reach it over here. We have to start being very careful with our wires and stuff now. She seems to be addicted to chewing that stuff.
My mom's on her. Are you done with your video?
No.
Are you gonna be soon?
What?
Are you gonna be soon?
Yeah.
Oh, my mom's here. No, that's not her.
Okay. So on the second flush draw turn, we're like barely ever checking. Hands we're checking with are these pairs lower than a 10. Although 9x is betting a lot. Queens and jacks also checking a lot. Interesting that 9s is betting so much more than queens and jacks here, but and then like all these bluffs here, all these Broadway combos that have gutters now or a pair hit the king, all betting. No overbets though. It's either a small bet or 75% here, which is important to note. It's not really a spot we can go polar just because big blind has 10x. So I don't think we're going to do any polarizing here across all turns, which is just like a common heuristic for paired boards in general. No overbetting on turns really, because big blind's just like uncapped right from the start. So yeah, just a ton of betting, especially on Broadway turns, with all the draws that we now have and can keep betting. Let's take a look at a 2 of clubs and see if this is going to be overbluffed or underbluffed. So like look at all these hands: ace 9, king 9, queen 9, jack 9. There's no way people are hitting these bluffs nearly often enough. And I don't even see, like, I'm very surprised to see how often these hands are bluffing. Like all these offsuit Broadway combos: king jack, king queen. And then all these, like king 8, ace 8. There's so much bluffing going on here. Still checking half our hands, but this is just a lot of aggression across all turns, it seems. And in practice, this is just very underbluffed, no doubt. And I'm assuming jack 9 is going to be similar, most likely. So let's take a look. File, load tree.
We lost the remote.
It's in the bathroom. Okay. I have to finish my video, so last hand I'm looking at.
Okay.
I'm going to stand right there.
Yeah. Do you not want me to?
It's just weird talking to myself with you standing right there. Alright, so we're range betting 1/3 on jack 9. Big blind raising very frequently with most jack X. And then I'm going to have a lot of draws here. So like gutters, but we'll just look at turn play for this. Let's put a brick turn out there and look at imposition strategy. So not much overbetting on a 3 turn. And again, it's a paired board, so there's just not going to be much overbetting at all across most turns here. But this is still a really, really high frequency betting from imposition. So all these draws are kind of like all Jack X is obvious, but then these draws are kind of obvious as well. Ace Queen probably isn't going to be bluffed as often as it should be in practice. Same with Ace 10. But all these like King 10, Queen 10 hands, kind of easy to bluff with those or find those bluffs, like 10-8 as well. Queen 8 makes sense. Now like King 8, people aren't hitting this frequency. Ace 8, even Ace 9, King 9 betting for value. These lower kings bluffing a lot. People are going to miss those. And we'll just look across all turns. Lower pairs are checking. These hands when we have, I'm not bluffing too much. So this spot to me looks like it probably is slightly under bluffed in practice. Just because people aren't going to find these King X combos to bluff with. And like these Ace 10 off, Ace Queen off, Ace not, or yeah, I guess that's not even a bluff value, but I don't think people are going to hit these frequencies often enough. A lot of these bluffs are kind of intuitive, like 10-8, Queen 10, King 10, hands like that. But then there are a lot of bluffs that I don't think people are. And then like look at, on an Ace turn, we are betting our range 100% of the time for 30% pot. And it's basically the same on a King as well. So any Broadway turn, we're just betting like crazy. Same with a 10. So yeah, this is going to be an underbluffed spot without a doubt. Like we literally are just betting everything. The only hand we're checking at a high frequency is King 9. That's the only like 100% frequency check we have. Every other hand that we have here is betting 1/3. So this is going to be an underbluffed spot. Big time. So this is going to wrap it up for today. Quick video. Just wanted to finish the hands that we had not gotten to yet. But thanks for checking this out, and I'll be back tomorrow with another video.